All right, so let's dive into our curly fur technique, which, as I say, many people do find quite difficult. So we're going to start with our pencil sharpened with a craft knife and sanding paper. I'll have a link to how to do this down below if you're unsure, but I do find this particularly useful, especially for pastel pencil work, but also for doing curly fur. So I'm going to start with my pencil on the side. So I'm really holding my pencil really far down, and this is allowing me to get a nice flat angle to the page. Just sweep the pencil backwards and forwards, and what I'm looking for are the shadows where we're not going to have many details. So I'm just going to start to establish where the darker areas are, and I can imagine this curl of fur rounding upwards. Maybe it's got a bit of a shadow underneath. I'll try and replicate the one that we've got in the workbook for you. And then coming around the other side and trailing downwards. So I really am sweeping the pencil on and off the page, building this up with several sweeps. You can see I'm not just putting down a mark, and this starts to feel very soft. Now, with a pastel pencil, you probably won't need to put quite as many marks down. It will probably put a little bit more pigment down on the page than the graphite does. So I have to work this up a little bit more, but it will be in essence the same thing. Make sure that you've got a nice flat broad edge to the pencil, sweeping it on and off. You can see I've got a nice transition here into the white of the page, and then it heads back down into shadow again. Now what you can see in the workbook is that some areas are quite a bit darker. The workbook was done with a slightly deeper pencil than this one. It was an even softer pencil. This is a 3B for this, but you can just use your ordinary HB. 3B will just make it go a bit darker. So if I was working with pastel pencils right now, I'd probably be layering up my colours. I probably have two colours for the underpainting, one a little bit darker and one a little bit lighter. So you can see that we have this kind of funny little wave shape, this funny little curve, and you can imagine that what we would actually get in our photograph is multiple curves happening at once. So maybe underneath this curl, we'd have another one coming down. So again, I'm thinking about a curl coming out of a shadow. In this case, it's sitting underneath this curl. Maybe it curves around like so. Maybe it comes up here. So you can already see this is starting to create a sort of swishing motion to the pattern that I'm creating on the page. This is entirely made up at the moment, and when I come to do my curls, I make a lot of it up in terms of I look at my reference photo, I look at the lay of the curls in an area, whether they're cascading down or across, or whether they are a genuine, just haphazard mix, and then using the lighting inspiration, knowing whether the lighting is coming from the left or the right, I will start to construct these abstracted shapes, thinking about the reference photo, thinking about the length of the fur and how much of a curl I can see. So what I mean by this is, when I see amateurs work, and you'll find this towards the back of your workbook, where it has a troubleshooting section to show you what I would normally see in people's work, is people create one long line quite often, and you can see immediately they are lines. And they might do a curl like that, and then they might have another curl next to it, and they just create these very long sort of S shapes that they then feel they need to somehow colour in or colour in between. And it all starts to feel, despite the fact that these are curving marks, it can all start to feel very flat. So firstly, what we have in this instance is we have a really quite a continuous line starting from the top to the bottom. It's a really long curl. And what they're saying here by making marks like this is that it's an uninterrupted lock of fur, very long as well, but it's uninterrupted from start to finish, in that there isn't another curl crossing over it. Now with curly fur in general, what you have are multiple locks of fur that are interlocking. So you'll have coming one way and another, and they kind of cut each other off, even if you do have some slightly longer bits in there. Now, I'm not saying this looks good, it doesn't, but it's just illustrating that within a space this big compared to a space this big, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, whereas here, this is describing from top to bottom in just one line, and it feels very, very flat because of it. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of depth happening in such a shape. And that's very, very difficult to then bring into something like this to create volume with, because we can't even tell where might be a shadow or a highlight. So instead of starting with line, and instead of thinking about trying to describe a curl that starts, maybe if we're looking at a spaniel's ear, from the top of the ear to the bottom, we're going to think about creating multiple shapes within an area that create texture, they create depth, and they start to describe the lighting as well. So let's return to the exercise number 1, and let's create this cascading shape. So sweeping the pencil on and off the page. You really do want soft edges when you're working with curls, especially at your underpainting stage. It's so, so important. You can see with the troubleshooting sketches that they've all got quite hard edges to them. And again, that is honestly something that I see quite a lot, are hard edges in people's work where they've struggled with the fur, because they've ended up, just like I spoke about in the straight fur section, as they've got stressed, they've ended up clutching the pencil tighter and tighter, and the marks become much more stiff, and then you start pressing into the page too much, the pencil stops sweeping on and off, you lose all movement, and instead you just have a pretty flat line with a very consistent pressure from start to finish. So the line has the same thickness as well, which it doesn't help, as you'll see. So instead, let's create a nice little curl here, but starting with an area, not starting with line. Okay, so this is exercise number 1. On top of this, we're going to start to work some details, but just like over here, what we're not going to do is a line from start to finish. So I'm not going to go over this, if I demonstrate up here, with a line like that, okay? I'm not going to do this. So you can see straight away, that just flattens it. Instead, I would use a pencil of either a little bit dark or a mid-tone, and that should start to stand out. And I'm going to sweep the pencil, just like we were doing in the straight fur. So this is why straight fur is the first part of learning to draw fur. But you can see it's got a curve that is sympathetic to this overall shape. So the overall shape has an arch like this. So I'm going to create markings that can lay over the top, like so. But I'm not creating a continuous line, just like we did with the straight fur. Instead, I'm going to build this up with multiple marks that all flow in the same direction. And it will work a lot better, because a lock of fur like this is made up of multiple strands. So I'd allow those to sweep gently over the edges of my underpainting. They're going to start to carefully join together a little bit. Then you would start to intensify the values and increase the contrast. So usually this is going to involve making the darks a little bit darker. So you might want to shade over areas if you can't see a lot of detail. So you can see here I'm making thicker markings just to create an area of darkness as opposed to specific individual details, but I'm still sweeping the pencil in the correct direction. At no point have I started to do this or this. I'm still thinking about the mark making that we practiced earlier. I want to deepen it over here a little bit. And then you would start to work on your highlights. Now, for this pencil study, we're using the light of the paper. So all that's going to require here are fewer markings in the centre of this lock of fur so that it remains a little bit lighter. When you get towards the end of your drawing, when you would have maybe the whole ear filled in with multiple shapes that are interlocking, that's when you'd go back and you'd start to add a few wispy edges. So again, still very light and swift pencil markings. You don't want to add too many, and they just gently disarray the edges. So they part ever so slightly from the perfect flow that we've created. So some of these would be lighter hairs if I wasn't using the white of the paper. And you can see we've started to create something now that feels like a very soft lock of hair or fur, compared to something like this that started with line, and to create this sort of S shape, we've created multiple lines that go from top to bottom. Here we've created a very soft S shape just on the side instead, but instead of making it out of multiple pencil markings that are all doing this, I've made it out of multiple interlocking pencil markings, which instead are flowing together. You can almost think of it like water, and it creates something that feels much softer. Now, of course, this was also placed on top of an underpainting that already established the shadows, and that has also helped direct where the majority of my pencil markings needed to go. I needed to make the darks darker and more intense, and the lights, we're using the white of the paper in this instance, didn't need to add very many marks to those at all, because otherwise it would have become too dark and heavy. So really think about the fact that we are making, again, pencil markings that have a lovely flow to them. For the underpainting, we had very, very soft edges. That is so important. Using the side grip of your pencil to really get that nice broad shading mark. I'm sweeping the pencil on and off the page for that. And you can then build it up in layers. Don't try to get to the final value straight away. Really build it up, and you'll get very, very soft sfumato edges to your shading that allow you to have this really lovely soft lighting. And that allows you to bring your curls together, because you can see from the spaniel drawing on screen for you that a lot of the curls in the ears simply disappear into these lovely deep shadows, which would be these that we have created actually at the start of the painting. Now in your workbook, it continues on to create an area of curly fur, and that would be basically replicating this but en masse. So instead of just creating one lock of fur, we're interlocking different shapes. And what you might find easiest here is to go away and collect an image of some wavy or curly fur. Spaniel ears are a really good thing to practice on for this kind of texture. And then using the worksheet to help you, you can recreate this little lock here, but over a larger area. So really think about the techniques we've gone through, the fact that you want a nice light grip on your pencil throughout. Again, returning to the idea, if you've not watched the first video, I really recommend going through straight fur first, but returning to the idea that instead of having the pencil straight down on your page, the pencil comes in at a bit of an angle, and that just allows you to hold it a bit further backwards and get this lovely sweeping motion. It's much, much easier to get flowing marks if you're holding your pencil further back and lower to the page. You can see how these start to cascade around. We're moving away from this, away from a curly fur, into something that is made up of multiple flowing marks with an underpainting based on our values, our lights and darks. That's going to give it volume, it's going to give it form and depth by the end.